Alright guys, so I have the throttle body off because the engine was idling very high. And the reason for that, a lot of times, is the air idle control valve. This is the passageway for it. If it ever focuses, there we go. This is the passageway. I cleaned it out a little bit already. But this is the back of the throttle body. As you can see, it's filthy. And then this is where the air bypasses through. God damn it. Right through this hole and then into the intake. So this is the air idle control valve itself. There's an easy way to test and see if this thing works. And all you have to do is just take it out from, you could leave it in the throttle body actually. It's a lot safer to do because this can happen when you try and test it. So as you can see, the plunger on the end will actually come all the way out, which I found out the hard way, obviously. But to put it back in, it's not that hard. You just get it started, it'll catch on the end, and then just wrap some zip ties around it so it just holds it. Don't squeeze it. Don't try and force it in because you'll break all the teeth on the motor itself on the inside, because it's just plastic. It's nothing crazy. So just make it so it stays in there by itself, and then put the ignition on and turn it off real quick, and then it'll start backing its way back in. You might have to do it a couple times, but when you turn the ignition on, it's going to want to go out, so just flip it on and flip it off real quick, and then on the off it'll work its way back up. So once you get it back to a good spot like this, make sure you clean the end of it, because you'll get a lot of gunk built up on that too, so it won't seat properly and your intake, and then you'll get a lot of blow by and you'll have a high idle like I did. So I'm going to continue cleaning this a little bit further. As you can see, it's still a little dirty in there, and hopefully that fixes my high idle problem, but we'll see. And then I should probably clean all this off too while I'm at it. Alright, so after messing around with a few things, been trying to figure out why it won't idle, and the check engine light came on, so I was able to plug in the scan tool and see that I'm getting a low voltage to the MAF sensor. So it's either one or two things. It's either that the MAF sensor is cheap, because it was an eBay one, so it's most likely, I'm hoping it's not that, but it probably is. Or the other thing is the wiring. So there's actually these 5 wires I had in this part, the wiring harness for the engine, and this tan one's actually a 5-volt signal that goes to the MAF sensor, which is actually an intake air temp built into it, so it reads the mass of the air and then also the temperature. So one thing I'm thinking it could have been is when you run all these wires, because it's only 5 volt, next to items like the injectors and the coil pack, run into problems where the signal gets interrupted from all the other wires that are pulling a lot of current. I took the dash back out, but as you can see, all the wires, I never got around to actually cleaning this up, and that signal wire was curled up along with all these other wires, so that's going to cause a lot of interference as well. So I pulled the dash back out, and I'm going through labeling all the wires. I'm going to redo all this today. Hopefully it fixed my problem, but even if it doesn't, at least this will all be clean and organized, and I can actually get to everything, because it's been a nightmare trying to find pins on the ECU and figure out where I have wires and power going and grounds. And that's the other thing, is a lot of these grounds were kind of makeshift grounds that I did last second just to get the car running. But now that I know it runs and everything works on the car, I can go back through and clean this rat's nest up underneath the dash. So that's what I'm going to be doing now, and then hopefully by the end it'll be all nice and clean and organized somewhat. We can throw it back together and see if the car actually runs. Alright, so I got the dash back in, got the wiring sort of cleaned up. I got a lot of extra here for the battery and the starter and everything. I left all those long, but I'll tuck those up in there. We have power. I had to charge the battery. because it died. But sure enough, that coiled wire was the problem. So let's see if it'll fire up. Alright guys, so we're getting close to finishing this up. We got the idles all sorted out. Now, the issue that we're having is I got to change the stock fuel pump out. I originally had purchased the new Walbro 255 fuel pump, but I never put it in, so we're going to replace the fuel pump now. I'm not really going to go into too much depth about how to do that. It's a pretty common thing to do in these cars, so there's videos everywhere, there's tutorials. So that's what we're going to do now. Alright, so I have the fuel pump out, and as I assumed, it's already a Walbro, but the exact one, I'm not too sure. It looks the exact same as this. The same numbers, just about. GSS 341, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's... I mean, this sock's a little... I guess it's dirty. I don't know. But whatever. I'm going to replace it. I have it out. I'll just put the new one in. Alright guys, so I got the fuel pump back in. About ready to put the whole thing back together. The fuel pump itself just slides onto a clip. It comes off really easy. You just got to pull up on it. It'll come off. And then there's this black like seal. The easiest thing to do is just put this in first. Put this in all the way around without trying to put the top on, and then slide the top on, and it'll fit right in. If you try and put the seal on around the top and try and get it in, you'll never get it in. You're just going to be fighting yourself. So put the seal in first, and then drop the top, and then you can thread the cap back on. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap it up for today. That was pretty productive. We got the car running nice, finally. So in the next episode, hopefully we'll be hitting the roads and taking it for our first drive.